Absolute Wonder Woman issue 20, Kelly Thompson writing with Hayden Sherman on the R. Yeah, this issue starts off with Wonder Woman fighting the big the robot, the Iron Maiden, yeah, that's what it's called. But yeah, the big robot crabby looking thing. And Zatara's basically saying to Zatanna, hey, we can't help her, we have to flee. And Zatanna chooses to do so, and she apologizes to Diana kind of under her breath as she does, but Diana keeps fighting the Iron Maiden. And there's some interesting art here where like there's a full page spread where Diana punches the Iron Maiden and it makes these big shock waves, but the sound effect, you know, the onomatopoeia, big, you know, boom, inside the boom letters is Zatanna doing the spell to like teleport away with her dad. Yeah. So I think that was a really neat page. All this fighting stuff is pretty good. Veronica Cale is like super evil and is like, okay, the Zatannas are away. In that case, make the priority of the Iron Maiden to capture Wonder Woman. That's now our priority. And you know, and it's a long fight. There's some impressive pages. Like it kind of envelops her, and she's sort of trapped inside it. And you get these sort of curved panels inside this 2-page spread that show like the further details. And I was gonna say she tries to get out of it, obviously, but ultimately this thing's able to sort of like collar her with this thing, and she ultimately fails.
It overwhelms her because every time she has like a way out, another hand pops up, right? So she compares it almost like a Hydra, you know, but it's mechanical, and eventually it just overwhelms her. And a little piece that I like too is almost every time you see Kale, when it pops in, her panel's a triangle, right? And in visual storytelling, all the points on the triangle show danger and this, that, and the other. And so I like that little piece. That she's omnipresent, this, you know, spiky element in Diana's story here. Until
notably,
you know,
Matt, there's one other triangle that's in all these pages. And it's the Iron Maiden's eye. Yep. It's a red triangle. Right. And red also normally means danger. Danger,
yeah. So I love all that. And then it finally gets her, and it feels dire. Like you feel, you know, like Diana's been defeated, and we're not used to seeing that, right? Like Diana's usually triumphant, and so when it hits, and we almost get like we get the title page, and so it treats it like a cold open. It feels like on a downbeat.
I mean, it's like half the issue though. It's a pretty late title page, all things, because the action does take up quite a bit. And then there's like a comedy page after that where I think it's Dr. Poison lands in in the desert in Utah. And
the salt flats,
and it's like shit because I'd forgotten about it, of course, and then like that she lands, and I'm like, oh yeah, she got punted like like really far away.
And then you know, just all the stuff with Kale, and again, this is where I love Sherman's art, because we're talking about the triangles and the points, and almost every panel here is some kind of angle. Like it's a straight point line. There's not a lot of those nice curves that we had in the fight with the Iron Maiden, or that we tend to see with Diana. Everything is very blocky and angular and dangerous, and there's a layer of red over it all, and it completely shifts the tone, which was already pretty dire, to now it feels like stressful. And that's just on the art. That's not even reading, you know, the stuff that Kelly Thompson's putting in here. So again, just excelling at storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Diana trapped, and they're basically just testing different torture on her and seeing what she can take. They know she won't break, and Kale's like, just turn it up, and they're like, it doesn't go up any higher. Well, modify it to make it go higher. We have to see what our break limit is. And some of the energy they're hitting her with looks very Kirby Crackle-esque. It's very, you know, Omega stuff. So, you know, so I think all that stuff's very effective. It does feel like, oh, she's actually taking her first big loss here. This is kind of like, you know, we're 20 issues in. She's been very successful fighting the big kaiju monsters. She's circumvented Kale's plans before. But here, she's been defeated. She's trapped. She's in pain. Barbara's also been trapped. We'll get to her in a second. And all of it feels pretty rough, right? And they make a point of having Diana see that they've got Barbara. They want her to know that Barbara Ann's here. And all of this, and just to skip ahead to the end a little bit here, the fact that she is taken away before she even has a chance to try and escape and try and help the people she cares about just adds this extra sort of like cruel, like full stop on it at the end of the issue, where it's like, oh, you don't even get to try and make up for the fact that you lost. In fact, other people think you've abandoned them. And admittedly, that's because Veronica Cale's whispering in Barbara Ann's ear, being like, oh, by the way, look, she left you behind. She didn't even come and try and save you.
Yeah. This is the most heartbroken I've left an issue of Wonder Woman, of Absolute Wonder Woman. You know? And again, that's by design. Because now they start teasing the Barbara Ann and her relationship. And Barbara Ann's just like, well, no, Diana's, you know, you get the vibe that she thinks that Diana's going to find a way out of this. That's what she does. But then the way that Kale comes in and they have the other cheetah in front of her as well. And I'm like, oh no, like what is going to happen here?
The corpse of the other cheetah, to be precise.
You know? Yeah,
I mean, the thing here with this as well is that everyone else doesn't know that Diana's been pulled away against her will, right? Because we get the context that this is like a pact that like was made.
Persephone and Hades.
Yeah, Persephone made this pact with Hades to let Diana out of hell and go to Earth. The part of the deal was that 1 month a year she'd be pulled back to hell for a month for whatever reason. And so Diana's pulled away, and she even says out loud, not now, like this is a terrible time for this. And she's not really told anyone this is going to happen. But to everyone else, when Cale shows Barbara Ann this like security camera footage, it just looks like a magic spell or something. It just looks like, hey, she just got out of here and she didn't even
teleported.
Try and save you. So it does not look like something that happened against her will. So like, I think it's interesting because I'm like, okay, I wonder what the next issue is going to be like then if Diana's away for a month. Does she fight her way? Does she somehow convince the gods to let her go back? Is there a time skip, whatever? And if there is a time skip and she's gone for a month, then what's the attitude like from everyone else when she gets back to Earth?
Yep.
That's pretty bad.
Well, especially,
that's a big deal.
I'm almost wondering if we're going to have a time jump and we're going to see like her not, and then her having to live with the fact that she failed all these, you know, Barbara Ann and the others there. And the energy that they were hitting her with, Zatanna, you know, that's what they were getting Zatanna with. So she understands. So I also wonder if there's going to be some Zatanna help out that comes around here. You know, she'll make her way back. You know, but yeah, that whole thing with Hades and Persephone, I was like, oh, where's this going? Because it's been brought up, right? That she has to return every so often to hell. Like we've heard that before, but I forgot about it. So when they get talking, and for those that don't know, the story of Hades and Persephone is the daughter of Demeter, one of the gods. And the reason, like, she's a goddess of spring. The reason that we have spring and winter is that Hades takes Persephone for 6 months a year, right? And the other 6 months she comes out in that spring and summer. When she's gone, it's fall and winter. And so they have this discussion, Hades and Persephone, of like, you know, Persephone's like, you know, I could have loved you, but the fact that you kept me like jailed meant that this love could never be true. And I was like, where is this going? And then when it comes around where, oh, Persephone had made the deal with Hades for Diana, you know, and that's how she gets out, but she has to come back. Again, I thought it was all, you know, it was layered very well. So when you see Hades' hand pull Diana out, it feels like this dire no type moment because of their conversation, you know, in the underworld.
Yeah, I think they might have mentioned at some point that she has to go back occasionally, but I don't know if they ever specified it was 1 month a year. I don't know if they ever gave us like that exact kind of timeline. And I don't know if we ever had any sort of indication that it was coming up. You know, this was something that was going to happen anytime soon.
But yeah, it also just shows her with the goddesses versus the gods. Because I feel like this is the first time we've seen one of the gods, seeing Hades here. Because I don't think we've seen like Poseidon or Zeus, but we have seen Athena, we've seen Aphrodite. And so to see Hades in this form as well, you know, and the difference between the gods and the goddesses, where it seems like this version of Diana has the goddesses' favors, and they're almost keeping secrets from the gods, you know, the goddesses are, in that, like, this deal with Hades, the way that Persephone has to bring it up to him. You know, it's almost like he is like, oh yeah, this is something we have to do. You know, so I like all of that balance as well. And Kelly Thompson playing with the, you know, the inner personalities of the gods to remind us that. But yeah, and then even this lightning bolt here at the end, on the very last page with Diana. It shows just almost how defeated she is. And yeah, it ends on a downbeat. I don't like it, like in a good way, right? Like, but yeah, man, I'm used to seeing this Diana win, and when she does it, man, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, basically when she gets pulled down to hell, she just I can't bear that she's left people behind, and she says, I will go mad, and not being able to help for the next month, and she just screams out, and this giant green lightning bolt comes out of her mouth. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do here, like going forward, if it's just going to be simple as a time jump, or maybe like one issue of like the time passing of her like struggling in hell to try and get back. Or maybe it would be a ballsy move, actually, is to give it as an issue without her and just follow the characters in that month on Earth, and like this, maybe the story of Barbara Ann. Although I think part of me, if like no, they might just sort of do bits and pieces of it as they go, but part of me almost wonders that it would make more sense to have her show up as Cheetah down the line and then go back and do a flashback issue showing how she turned into that. But we'll see. Who knows how they're going to play it out from here. But I mean, this was it felt like a big milestone issue in the sense that it was like, okay, lots of action, all the good like sequential art that Sherman's really good at. But this failure felt like a pivotal point of like, oh no, this is where she's starting to actually come up against foes that she can't win, and realizing just how powerful or how cunning Kale is with all the resources that she has. And then this deal with Hades sort of coming back to bite at the worst possible time, which is going to maybe color the attitude of, at the very least, Barbara Ann. I mean, maybe the others will be more forgiving once she explains it to them, but Barbara Ann is going to, I mean, you presume that like her turn to the dark side is what this is the start of, is this idea that Wonder Woman abandoned her, and how much is it going to take to convince her of otherwise. No, all that stuff is great. And the coloring is really good because, like you said, like you've got the red eye on the bot, but every time you get that triangular panel of Kale, it's always bathed in red light. And it's the same once we go to that like area when Diana's there. It's all just bathed in red for the most part. Except when the big blue hand comes out and grabs Diana, and all of a sudden you've got all this blue instead. It really sticks out in comparison.
And I like when they're zapping her with whatever that force is, that darkness, it mutes all the other colors around it as well. So it's almost like it's pulling her life force out, so that's another great coloring touch here. And I love how Hayden Sherman.
Yeah, I was going to say, notably afterwards though, it does switch to blue when Kale goes to see Barbara Ann, and it's almost like because she's getting in there to play her friend and say, hey, Diana betrayed you, like all of a sudden everything's all blue. And it's not until Barbara Ann sees the footage of like Diana, quote unquote, escaping, that bottom panel turns red. But the red at that point almost like represents Barbara Ann's mood than it does Kale's like malicious intentions at that point, because this has obviously hit her hard and it's like really convinced her of something. So again, just really smart use of the coloring here throughout.
Yeah, well, it's even the look on her face too. There's a little inset of Barbara Ann and just her glasses, and it frames her eyes before it gets to that red, too. So that also goes, that sticks out because that's again, the little inset of that blue set into the red, But I was gonna say the page where Diana's getting hit with that energy and it's all muted, Hayden Sherman always has these fun angles with the panels, and here when we see Kale and them, it's very blocky, and the way that the energy kind of bleeds in to those smaller blocks as well is adding to that almost all encompassing of this energy. So just, again, the art on this is top notch.
There's a very intentional choice of different layouts or different styles of layouts for each section. Like you've got the gods talking is got a lot of like interesting kind of like perspective panels where they're kind of at an angle, and it's like we're kind of seeing them like looking from the side kind of thing, and it has this sense of them being very expansive and like it's like bigger than it actually is. But you also have a lot of curves and stuff during the fight with Diana, because it's almost the idea that there's curves in the panels because she is pretty like supernatural. She's bigger than life, so there's these bigger things happening. Whereas Kale, it's all these sharp triangles and edges, and that kind of like bleeds into the interrogation or the torture stuff, where it's mostly revolving around Kale as well. But notably, that one page of Dr. Poison landed in Utah is just it's like 6 horizontal rectangles. It's just very straight, and I like that because it's like it's very flat. Because it's flat is good for comedy because you want just the beats to play out, but it's so distinct because you don't have the angles from the danger that Kale represents, and you don't have all the curves or the more funky stuff that the gods and the powerful characters represent. You've just got this character landing in the desert without any of those influences, right. So it's just flat rectangles because it's just that. And I like how distinct that just feels. And it's funny it feels distinct because it's just rectangles, which is the most normal thing you could do. But
right, and that's Sherman's style, is when the what you think is typical is atypical. Right? Yes. So yeah, it works. And you're right, for the comedy, because it is sequential, it's like a storyboard.
Yeah.
We can follow the landing here and it works perfect, but it does it on the multiple layers where, all right, here's the normal comic book layout, and we're going to get back to the Zonky stuff later. But yeah, no, this book is still so good. And even though my girl took a loss and it made me sad, I can't wait for the next issue. Like this is one of the few times with comics where I'm like, I need that next issue right now.
Yeah, her losing
like that in a minute.
Her losing is not a negative. She should lose. Yep. Like the hero has to lose so the win means something later. This is important.
Right. So, but yeah, it's very, very rare anymore with the comics and with how we read them, and that like I need to know now. Like they got me hook, line, and sinker. But yeah, no, just good stuff all the way around.
Yep. All right, Matt, what are you giving Absolute Wonder Woman issue 20?
Yes. I am giving this a 9.5.
I'm close. I'm just going to go with a 9. Right. I'm close, but I'm going to go 9 out of 10 for Absolute Wonder Woman.